Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Steven Universe video. This is going to be my top 10 songs from Steven Universe. You probably won't see another top 10 video for Steven Universe for me anytime soon. The only other ones I could consider doing at some point would be top 10 fusions and maybe top 10 characters. At the moment, I think the fusion one I definitely want to hold off on, and just because I don't feel there's quite enough fusions that we've had like depth on to quite do a video like that. And then characters is definitely one I want to wait for the show to kind of commit to doing more things with the characters before I get into it. As much as like we're in season 4 right now, I still think there's a lot more to come with the characters, so gonna wait and hold off on that. But yeah, let's get into, I suppose, first of all, how I approached putting my lists together, because this is different than episode list, where with episodes you can really base it around quality, in that yes, everyone's opinions on things is different, but I think fundamentally you can really through analysis break it down to like, this is objectively a high quality episode and deserves to be in the list for that reason. With songs, it's a little bit different. Everyone has different tastes in music. Everyone has different characters that they like, emotional parts of episodes that they like, character arcs, plot, and I think a lot of that factors into this. So what I've based mine on are not overly strictly, but I think for me the strongest songs within the show are ones where it is a great song just on its own, that just listening to it without watching the scene where the song plays, or even knowing, I suppose, who the character is or anything like that, just listening to it as a song released by some random musician, it is a good song. That you can say that just from the audio. That plus how, if it fits the character is having an arc through the song, emotion is coming across, meanings coming across, it fits the plot. That plus great song means it's top of the list. But if the song is just so good, even if it's in maybe not one of the greatest plots within the show, it also deserves to be really high on the list. I think equally so if a song maybe isn't the greatest piece of music, but it has such impact on the show, it also deserves a place on the list. So that's kind of the way I'm approaching this, that there are kind of different kind of blends of those things, where that's fundamentally how I kind of placed them on my list, that these two songs equally are good songs and both deal with characters, but I feel this song is a better song, I feel this song deals with character in a more better way, and so on. They're the kind of arguments I was having with myself as I was putting the list together. So let's get into it. Same as last time, I did 2 honourable mentions, which are effectively my number 12 and number 11 on my list, because I just can't narrow down to 10 for some reason. And then we'll get into the top 10. So, get straight in with number 12. Steven and the Stevens / Steven and the Crystal Gems. Same song, couple of lyrics changed within the same episode, so I'm just placing them together here. This is one of those ones where I think it's in general not the most memorable episode, but just this song I think is what I remember and why I remember this episode. Ultimately, it has no real character arc to it. There's no massive plot beyond just the idea that to some extent the episode focuses a little bit on Steven getting into this mess by himself, and Steven and just singing the song with the Stevens, and they kind of create these issues, and then ultimately the song is a success because he sings it with the Gems in the end. And just there's some fun lines of dialogue, in the Steven and the Stevens bit, he's just like, we're all the same guy. That's a really fun line. And then in the Steven and the Crystal Gems song, he's like, I accidentally created an alternate timeline. So that's a fun line of dialogue, because like Pearl is just like I think playing the violin throughout the song, and she just like hears that line of dialogue and it's like, what's going on here? I just thought that was kind of a fun thing. But number 11, my final honorable mention, is the song What Can I Do For You? I think that's what it's called. But anyway, this is basically a duet between Rose and Greg, with some of the other gems, like in universe being the musicians behind the song playing some of the instruments. lot of stuff to this song, because one, it's, you know, one of the few flashback kind of episodes, big moments that we have here, so they kind of crammed a lot into this. It's a meaningful song for Greg and Rose's relationship. It also highlighted, you know, the issues between Greg and Pearl, some of the kind of jealousy, potentially fighting over Rose, in that we get to see Rainbow Quartz. This is where Greg, I suppose, properly learns about fusion and becomes interested in that. And then I think there's another kind of side to this where some of Rose's, the lyrics that she's singing, you know, talking about humans as kind of like fun, almost like playthings, that she's almost talking in such a way where she thinks that gems are above humans, and she just sees them as being this kind of, this funny species that she likes to interact with from time to time, and not really considering them equals overly so. Not that it's like she's being like negative or anything like that, it's just she doesn't understand it just yet. So there's a lot of meaning behind this song. And then I think it's just a really interesting kind of tone to this song. It's not super high energy or anything like that. There's a subtle kind of intensity to it, where, you know, it's very kind of, you know, same tone. There's a nice beat to the song, and just it's a very intense, that like Rose is singing like to Greg is singing to Rose, as they're kind of like in basically eyes locked at each other the entire time. It's really interesting. My number 10 on my list, moving into the actual top 10, Something Entirely New. Very emotional song, obviously from one of my favorite episodes, my second favorite episode of the show, The Answer. It was all this one had to be on my list somewhere. Ultimately, it didn't place as highly as I maybe expected to when I was first putting the list together. I think part of that is because it as a song, I don't think is the most spectacular song in the show. It has a lot of impact because of the story behind the song. This is Ruby and Sapphire, characters in a relationship that everyone cares about who likes Steven Universe. And so just that alone, and the song being good, make it amazing. Though I don't think, as I said, I don't think the song itself is like crazy strong. Part of that is because you have a section towards the middle where it's more of a kind of singing, talking kind of back and forth, which is fine and gets the emotion of the scene across, but takes a little bit away from what the song actually is, in that it's never a style of music I particularly like, in that they just have music playing and then they say a line of dialogue, and the line of dialogue comes out so weird because they extend words to try and fit it in with the stuff instead of it being a natural part of the song. But as I said, there's so much kind of plot to and character behind the song that it makes up for the song, I don't think, being the strongest. And you'll see this as we go through kind of how I roughly balance out each one in terms of placing them on my list. But very good song there. But number 9 on my list is It's Over, Isn't It? Obviously one of the big songs from Mr. Greg. The first of 2 Mr. Greg songs you'll see on this list. And again, I think this is one where a lot of other fans will probably place this super high on the list, that this is a really impactful episode. Anyone who's a fan of Pearl will probably have this potentially as their number 1 almost. And I think it's a very strong song. That's why it's on my list. I just feel it is kind of overshadowed for me by another one of the songs from that episode, which I'll discuss later on my list. This one obviously is a solo song for Pearl and gets a lot of her emotion and feelings out about how she felt about Greg and the whole situation, and ultimately, like, plot-wise, the effect that this has on Steven, who's overhearing it, and then Greg, who overhears the end of it and feels like Pearl kind of always wanted him, like, out of their whole gem situation, and how it's ultimately that leads to them kind of eventually coming back together. It's a well done song, very emotional. They put a lot of effort into the visuals of this song to really make it this highly emotional song for Pearl, and it was just exceptionally well done. 8 on my list is Strong in the Real Way, another Pearl song, and this one is one where I would say the song, I think, is really good, but it's a little bit let down because the plot and the reason they're singing this song, I don't think, is the strongest. This is obviously Pearl's kind of response to the bad influence that Sugalite, the fusion of garnet and amethyst, is having on Steven. Because when they form, they get really aggressive. They're super strong, but they are a bit overly aggressive. And they basically influence Steven to the point where Steven wants to become super strong and just break stuff. And Pearl feels that that is not the greatest way to become truly strong. She's always more about like honor, skill before kind of brute strength. And so she's kind of talks about like her dream for how she kind of wants Steven to become strong, and that she wants to be the one to inspire him, light a fire under him to become strong in the proper way, the way she sees it. And at the same time, she's trying to get it across that she's not doing this because she's jealous of Sugalite, but she kind of is. I really like that part of the song where the music of the song clearly leaves a beat long enough for the word jealous to be very easily added into the lyrics of this song without like forcing it in there. But just the fact that they actually made the decision to have the voice actress specifically not say the song, so the song kind of misses a beat in terms of like the lyrics, but it just is very fitting in that Pearl doesn't want to admit to herself that she's jealous because it would kind of ruin her whole point. I think if Pearl had sung this whole song, I think it would have been much higher on my list. I think the Steven half of this song, I suppose, more represents the negative kind of plot side of the episode, and that I wasn't really the biggest fan of like Steven becoming a coach and trying to like get everyone to work out on the beach, and he uses this song to inspire them. It's like cool, and it's obviously a different style of song for Zach Allison to sing. I just as I said, the Pearl section of this episode is absolutely, it's so strong. That's why I have it on my list, even if I have a decent amount of negatives surrounding some of the kind of things about this song. Number 7 on my list is the song Like a Comet, which is obviously the episode where Greg and Rose first meet. Is obviously Greg singing this song at a concert, but Rose is the only one who's there and actually overhears it. And this is what starts this very important relationship. I just think this is a great song. This is one of those ones where, plot-wise, it fits in really well. It's a very effective scene. As I said, the meeting of Rose and Greg, the start of that. But song-wise, I think it's just a really great kind of rock song. It's got a great kind of music behind it. And the lyrics are really fun. They kind of later obviously make a more humorous version of this as the kind of burger song. But the standard version, Like a Comet, it fits in with the Mr. Universe kind of character that Greg has. And there's just like fun things like the fact that he wants to be successful and he's like singing about like his albums flying off the shelves. And it's a very kind of inspirational song, and it's very fitting in that sense. So that's my number 7 pick. Number 6 is the extended or full version of We Are the Crystal Gems, the kind of main opening theme. I really like this song a lot. I like the little brief version we get as the kind of main intro for every episode, but this extended version, what they did to it to basically turn it into the story of how Steven first kind of came to live with the crystal gems, and I suppose basically just establish further the base ideals of a lot of these characters and their perspective kind of living on Earth for so long and just the situation that they're in. It's a very fitting song to the point where I'm kind of just like, I think this as like an extended opening theme for episode 1 of the show, I think would have worked exceptionally well. You obviously have to change some of the visuals from the way it is as we see it now, and that there's a lot of spoilers. They show clips from basically all of the episodes up to that point. They kind of spoil the whole Garnet is Ruby and Sapphire thing within it. But if you change the visuals a little bit and added this as I said, the first episode's theme, I think you would have got so much character across early on, and that's why I think this song is so effective. Just those little bits where like Garnet says, I will fight for the place where I'm free to live together and exist as me. Imagine the mystery surrounding that line of dialogue, not knowing for sure the whole idea about what a fusion is, not knowing the parts of her fusion. You would have been speculating about that a lot, that this means a lot to her that she is able to kind of exist together, but why? Knowing that, like, oh, it's a unique thing that Amethyst is from Earth. The others weren't made on Earth, but Amethyst was. That's all she's known her life, is that Earth is her home. And then Pearl, you get this idea that she is all about kind of respecting the wishes and ideals of Rose Quartz, and that's what she believes in, and she's going to continue that even though Rose isn't around anymore. And then for Steven, you obviously get you kind of get this core of his character that, especially early on, like, isn't really addressed all that much, and really until very recently within the show hasn't been focused on all that much. You know, there's somewhat pressure that Steven feels under to be like his mother, yet also not like his mother. So I think it's interesting that this extended opening hits on that point so well, but I think it's just a great song. Number 5 on my list is Full Disclosure. This is obviously from the first episode of season 2. And one of those ones where I think really good song. The plot around the song isn't really the best, in that it's obviously one of those kind of cliched kind of plot points of just like, oh, like two friends, you know, one of them is involved like in an incident before the other one has a chance to get involved, and then they decide that they're going to break off their friendship with that person so they don't get hurt. And it is always resolved with the whole idea of, no, we have to do this together, and the other person understanding that they shouldn't have been so kind of selfish as to kind of make the decision on their own, and they're better off as part of a team. The fact that I could explain that so quickly and easily kind of shows you how kind of cliched and kind of overdone it is. I think it roughly makes sense, you know, for Steven to feel that way. It's just I don't think it was the best direction to take the story in. It didn't really feel overly within Steven's character to just like try and break a friendship like that. I felt like he as a character would have tried a different way to kind of not involve Connie rather than just ending the friendship like that. But the song itself, I love how the song is kind of about Steven being afraid to answer the phone to Connie because he doesn't want to have to tell her what just happened, the danger he was just in, get her worried, wanting to protect him, and how that phone call and his ringtone is the kind of tune for the song. I think that's just so well done, and the song itself, obviously the dialogue is very interesting. It acts as kind of a recap for like the previous season, especially the finale for the last season. But just overall, you know, really fun solo song for Steven. Really, really good song. Number 4 is the song Both of You. So this is the reason why It's Over, Isn't It is kind of lower on my list, because I felt this one was the standout song from the episode rather than It's Over. The reason for that is because I feel that this is the more impactful song. It's Over, Isn't It is like Rose's thoughts and everything, whereas I actually like that Both of You is kind of this mix of, it's about Pearl, it's about Greg, it's a little bit about Rose, and it's about Steven as well. And how it links all of this, all these different relationships, and is basically this idea that Steven is saying this because he wants these two people who are very close to him, basically two parental figures to him, to fix this bond, this rift that's been between them for in his mind, you know, like no obvious reason. And then the fact that the emotion that he kind of comes across to Greg and Pearl, it almost feels to them like it's Rose who is kind of telling them this, that the two of you have so much in common because you can bond over the fact that you both have Steven to look after. You can also bond over the fact that Rose isn't around anymore. You two can confide in each other because you both had so much experience being around her in different ways, because you were the closest people to her. And so I just love the emotion. I think I think also what makes this such a good song is that I think this song basically perfectly fits Zach Callison's like singing voice as Steven. I think it just felt so natural, the lyrics and stuff like that, the way he sung it. The little reveals that Steven can play the piano was a little bit weird, but the song just had so much impact. The visuals again were like just so well done with the different colors they used for Greg, for Pearl. And that's another thing I think about some of these songs. The ones that have great visuals as they go on are such standouts. Just going back over the list a little bit, Something Entirely New had amazing backgrounds and was animated really well. Like a Comet, as you got into the song and like Greg's imagination was kind of going wild as he was singing, that had some great animation as well, so that was really good. But yeah, that's my number 4. Both of you, excellent song. Into the top 3 with my number 3 pick, Here Comes a Thought. Now this one I considered placing higher on the list. I almost considered placing this one. I fairly quickly realized, no, it's not my number 1 pick, but considered putting it 2. I ultimately settled on 3rd place for it because I think part of the reason I was thinking, 1 or 2 was because it's just the most recent song. There's a lot of hype around this song. I'm still playing it on repeat a lot, on YouTube. Like, I've probably listened to it like 30 times at this point. So I do think this song is excellent, hence why it's number 3 on my list, of course. I just don't think it's quite the strongest one in the entire show. What I really like about this song is, one, like I just said there, it has the visuals to it. The sequence that plays as the song is singing is so well done. You have the kind of calmness of kind of Garnet and Stevonnie just kind of meditating, thinking about this. You have the more intricate animations as you kind of go into their minds, and you see Garnet thinking about Ruby and Sapphire, Stevonnie thinking about Stephen and Connie, and then the kind of symbolic nature of the butterflies kind of representing these thoughts that pop up, and how for certain characters it's just one thing that can kind of just make them so angry, for Ruby, but for other characters like Sapphire and Stephen, they often become overcome by just so much stuff hitting them at once. And it just, this is a song that has huge meaning and impact. A lot of people have been very moved by this song, and that's why so many people rate this so highly off the bat. And hence why I knew that even though maybe it wasn't my first or second, it had to be right up there in my list. And then just in terms of the song itself, just really interesting. This is a return after a decent while to Garnet kind of getting more or less like a huge focus within a song, and they take a much different approach to this song than usual. And then the debut of Stevonnie singing, I thought was really well done. It was just a unique pairing for this really important and impactful song, that has a lot of meaning to a lot of people, of course. Number 2 on my list is Do It For Her. When I've seen other people's top 10 songs lists, this is one I've seen at times get the number 1 spot. So I knew immediately that I have to place this very highly, because I just think it's a really good song. It's a really good song within a really good episode. It's a Pearl song, so it's going to be sung exceptionally well. And then it probably ends up being one of the first times that this show just got a song perfectly right that hit everything within the episode, within the characters that it was meant to hit. And this one just has so much to it. It's Pearl kind of singing, basically Pearl giving advice to Connie about how to sword fight, that you should basically fight to protect him, but she's so invested in this whole idea that she's thinking about herself and Rose, so hence why the song is called Do It For Her. And it's the very clear and to the point, it's not subtle at all. That's what the song is about, of course. That it's very clearly that kind of double meaning, that you have the constant going back and forth between do it for him, do it for her, and ultimately, like the I suppose darker reveal later on in the episode that, okay, you think kind of that Pearl was this hero, but she was borderline kind of suicidal in how she just jumped in front of these attacks that Rose was taking, and basically got herself poofed like a million times during the war, just to protect Rose. And the impact that as the song goes on, Stephen goes from kind of being impressed that Connie's getting the hang of this to, oh wait, Connie is very quickly becoming obsessed with devoting her life to me, that she's gonna sacrifice herself if something ever happens to me. And you just see Stephen gradually deflate over the course of this song as he realizes that that's ultimately the direction kind of Connie is heading in, thanks to what Pearl is telling her. So it's got so much impact to it. During the song, the visuals, of course, you have the really nice motions as you get some cool sword fighting stuff. Pearl shows them, a kind of heroic flashback of her protecting Rose on the battlefield, and it's in the arena, of course, which is always a really cool location. Just really, really great song that gets a lot of things across. It really is a full story within one song. That, like, you could have probably extended this out and just made the entire Sworn to the Sword episode this song almost. But my number one pick, it has to be Stronger Than You. I think the only reason most people, when they make a top 10 list, if they don't place this as the number one, they often just say that enough people have put it as the number one, I just want to be a little bit different. Realistically, most people who make top 10 lists probably, to some extent, thought from the get-go that Stronger Than You was going to be their first pick. It's realistically in the discussion for everyone. That's how well known this song is within the fandom. That's how much impact this song had as just this amazing moment, that this is the finale, the last episode 52 of season 1. They give you this episode and devote basically half the episode to this song, and it's basically, for me, the perfect blend of, it's an exceptional song sung by Estelle, so it's going to be sung really well. The lyrics work exceptionally well with what's going on. None of the lyrics really feel forced, like at times they sometimes can be. The animation during the fight scene between Garnet and Jasper, and then the kind of cut between what they're doing with Lapis, is so well done. And just the meaning behind a lot of it, in that this is the reformation of Garnet. It's her fighting to prove that fusion is more than just a kind of a power boost. It is that, but the fact that their fusion is fueled by love between Ruby and Sapphire can beat out just being an individually strong gem like Jasper. Just such a great song that, realistically, when I first started watching Steven Universe, it was there were episodes before this one that definitely got me invested in things and stuff like that, but it was really the whole big reveal around Garnet, Ruby, Sapphire, and then this song that was just like, this show can really get a moment and make it perfect. Like, it's going to be rare to ever see a sequence just as kind of perfect as the Stronger Than You sequence is, in terms of great animation direction, the song really well sung, and then it also has that effect of, like, sometimes some of these songs come across that, like, maybe real life in that moment the characters aren't actually singing that song, but in this case you can tell that this is just Garnet laying into Jasper in more ways than one. She's beating her in the fight, plus she's completely owning her just through the kind of promo ability of the mouth. So really great song there to finish off my list. So yeah, that's basically everything I wanted to say. In the comments, let me know what your top 10 songs are, or just some of your favorite songs are. Are you surprised by anything on my list? Any songs I didn't point out, or are there any I've included, or maybe are higher than you expect, lower than you expect? Definitely discuss that with me in the comments. I'll just end by saying, if you want to follow me on social media, links are in the description to my Twitter and Tumblr. If you want to help support my channel so I can make more videos, better videos, link to my Patreon and PayPal donation link are also in the description below. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.